Before you get excited about the latest miracle gut bacteria study funded by the makers of Ozempic, let me show you how you can get the same GLP-1 and PYY boost naturally and keep your money in your pocket. Hey everyone, this is Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach. To be very honest, this is a little bit of an experiment. I've tried this a couple times. I wasn't happy with the way the background videos was coming out, the quality of it. But I'm getting so many of these studies being thrown at me where people are, I can just see it, are trying to hype a future product coming out. And I just want to let you know, you don't buy into this stuff. Okay? So this is the latest one that was just sent to me. Polypeptides synthesized by common bacteria in the human gut improve rodent metabolism. Now, what they are trying to talk about here is that a common bacteria in rodent microbiome will produce GLP-1, which is the active ingredient, right? GLP antagonists are like what Ozempic and stuff will do, right? And that's the effect. It also helps release GIP, or I'm sorry, helps release PYY, and decreases GIP. And so the GLP-1 and PYY are help you feel satiated, so you feel full, right? And the by and GIP, which would normally make you hungry, by reducing its effect, right? It certainly makes it easier for you to once again stay full and to keep along with that. So the question now is, what do we do with this particular study? It is a relatively new one from February 2025, right? And at least in rats, they certainly showed that they were able to increase the amount of GLP-1 and PYY while also reducing GIP in the rats, which, if you get a similar effect in humans, would certainly lead to hopefully a potential diet drug, right? And that would be good. All right. So real quick, let me get to you with the real problem I see with this one, okay? And it's right here when we get into the acknowledgments and the funding. Where's the funding? Here we go. The study was supported by Independent Research Fund Denmark with a grant and Novo Nordisk Foundation with a grant. Okay, is there a potential conflict of interest here? Novo Nordisk, of course, is the company that produces Ozempic. And I always wonder when I look at this study, why are they looking to do a study to do this? Well, because they've lost their exclusivity in the marketplace on this one. So Novo Nordisk is, I think, this is my guess, is looking for another way to open up more of this marketplace, which has been just a tremendous profit generator for them. Okay? So, what the study claims, I'm just going to go back to the beginning here. Back up to here. So what the study claims is that two peptides produced by some human strains, right, and are detectable in human plasma, but are easily found in rodents, produce GLP-1 and PYY and reduce GIP. Okay, so what's great about the studies, and I encourage studies like this to some degree because, hey, it's extending our knowledge base and giving us hopefully multiple tools we can have to use this, right? The idea of using the human genomic abundance in terms of the microbiome to help produce effects, as opposed to just a pure pharmaceutical, is something I like, that's novel, and it works well. Okay? Where this doesn't tie up very well is human peptide levels versus phenotype don't necessarily line up well with what they're trying to do in rats, right? They don't really have good dosing and route right? Issues yet that they've been able to define, because how rodents benefit from this and how humans benefit from this are very different. Okay. Uh, Engineered bacteria, which is how they're doing this, can be confounded by anabolics, and I'm always a little bit hesitant on engineered bacteria. Right? This is a very short duration study, and once again, it's only on rodents. Right? They don't understand how this works fully yet. The target receptor is unknown. Um, Obviously, they're not doing it on humans, so that they no way of knowing how this differs potentially between male and female and stuff. And uh, they don't understand what your um, ecology and ecology in humans is. Your gut microbiome is very different if you're a vegetarian, maybe heading more towards vegan, or if you're more on the ketogenic carnivore side. The gut microbiomes are completely different, right? And and you always have to be concerned here with this statistics and trying to extrapolate from a rodent study to a human study. It doesn't work that well. It's a great place to start, right? Studies like this are how we figured out a lot of stuff. But I'm wondering, why are they doing this study? Because when I look at my advice and in my 10 years of study in ketogenic and carnivore diets, right? If you essentially drop your carbs to zero, right? You do a full carnivore or a very strong ketogenic diet, which is almost no carbs. Well, your GIP is strongly driven in humans. We've got studies for this. Driven by glucose entry, right? So if you don't have um, extra extra glucose, your GIP is going to be driven down automatically, right? Another thing is, don't mix fat with carbs. This is a big thing. I talk about this all the time. Your body was designed to eat protein and fat at the same time, or carbs alone, not mix them up. You have the Randall cycle, you have the citric acid cycle, or the Krebs cycle within cells, and how ATP is generated, and you can't burn fat and glucose at the same time. There's all kinds of things in there, so you really shouldn't mix the two together, and they should be very, very much separated by several hours, if not a day, right? Okay. If you want to drive up your GLP-1 and PYY in humans, what you do is you eat a lot more protein, right? At least 30 to 50 grams per meal, which, by the way, if you've been following my studies, I'm strongly suggesting at least 30 grams of protein per meal, especially for people over 60, like I am, because you want to have enough protein there with leucine, and you want to make sure you have enough leucine to trigger mTOR, um, so that you build muscles. Otherwise, once you get to 60, 65, or maybe a little bit older, you start having sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting as you get older, just because your body doesn't process proteins quite as well. Okay, so you need the most bioavailable proteins, which are animal, and you probably need 30 to 50 grams per meal. Okay, and so I'm already telling you to do that. So that's right in line with it. That gives you the GLP-1 PYY, which helps you get very satiated. It's a great way to do that. So this shouldn't affect. I mean, if you're following my advice, you're already there, right? And if you're not over 60, guess what? If you're getting 50, you're starting to lose some of your protein synthesis anyway, so it doesn't hurt. Okay? Use dietary fat, and we're talking here good saturated fat that comes from animal protein, right? And post meal bile acids stimulate GLP-1 as well. That helps. So once again, the fat in the animal meat that you're eating and the proteins are really good for you. And you want to have structure in your eating. You do want to consider doing timed eating, trying to do that 16-8 intermittent fasting, right? Maybe having 1 or 2 meals in that 8-hour eating window. You might even want to have smaller eating window, get down to 1 meal a day, uh, and that tends to also really bump up the GLP-1 and PYY. So these things we can do very easily, okay? And you might also consider, because once again, we're really keying off of the protein per meal, spike your meal with a little extra protein with maybe some whey or something in a drink before you eat the meat, just to make sure you have a lot of good protein in your system. And whey is really good because whey has a lot of leucine, right? Don't replace the meat with the whey, but add whey along with the meat to spike the leucine amounts. And so what you're looking for there is 30 to 50 grams of protein per meal. And in 1 meal a day, that should be plenty. The whey that whey shake that you spike the meal with, right, helps spike your GLP-1 and also raises your GIP-2, right? And guess what? You don't have to pay for a pharmaceutical for this. It's part of your natural diet. It's your diet that helps you get metabolically healthy. And you don't need to worry about all these pharmaceutical stuff that Novo Nordisk is producing. So keep that in mind. Okay, if you haven't done so, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps the channel a great deal. I appreciate that. And leave me comments about what you thought of this. Does this format work in terms of a quick review of these studies? Because we're getting several a day. And I like to respond to them to make sure you understand that when you see these things, don't get fooled by them. I can read these things and give you, from my opinion, these guys are building a study to sell a product. Okay? Thanks a lot.